Welcome, everyone, to the Pro Baseball Central podcast. This is Joe McDonald with you, and I am joined by New York Sports Days Managing Editor Rich Mancuso. How are you, Rich?
Good, Joe. How are you?
Good. A lot of things happening here in the world of baseball in New York. Mets, we had their streak broken the other day, but they're still red hot. And the Yankees, I guess that Gleyber Torres guy, it looks like a pretty good player.
Yeah, well, he certainly has the Orioles number, and they can't figure a way to get him out. But, he's a good young ball player. But the Orioles are, like as I've been posting, it's like watching a Sandlot baseball team, especially with their pitching. And it's sad. It's sad that Major League Baseball has to have teams like them and the Tigers. It's rebuilding and stuff, but especially with a team like the Yankees, it offers no competition. But Gleyber Torres is a very interesting story because he's setting these records with home runs against one team, and also, he's not a bad home run hitter or hitter himself, as long as he stays healthy, and it's a big part of the Yankees lineup, as we all know. But yeah, it's interesting to see what's going on with Torres and the Yankees itself, and see if this can continue in October.
Yeah, well, that's to say the Yankees are going to be like on cruise control, I think, over the next month and a half. They are setting themselves up for October right now. Keep everyone healthy. Win the games you have to win. There's no big deal if you lose a couple of games, you have a healthy lead. But really, they're going to be kind of on cruise control. The Mets, on the other hand, have to be full speed ahead. And we're going to see that tonight in Atlanta.
Well, 3 big games coming up. As the streak is going to continue, we'll get more of a determination of it starting tonight. What I like about it is, of course, they have the momentum and they've been doing things. They win at home. What I don't like is they lose on the road. But this is a different team that we have seen in the last time they were in Atlanta. It's a different team. This is a team that somehow came together at the right time, right after the All-Star break. That's why they've made their move. And most of all, it's the pitching that's keeping them in ball games. Their starters are going deep. The bullpen seems to have turned it around, except for Edwin Diaz. But these are 3 big games because they come off the National Series where they took 2 out of 3. They made believers in everyone now for sure because they were not beating the bad teams. They're facing the competition, and the schedule from here on in is all difficult with the exception of the Kansas City Royals coming up this weekend and maybe another series in between that. But what's gone on, Joe, with this team is how they've clicked, how they've all seemed to come together. The mood in the clubhouse has always been good. And the consensus when you come out of that clubhouse, if you talk to the guys, it's always the same thing. Even Mickey Callaway have been alluding to, we just had to get it together. We've always had the talent here. We just had to put it together. Factor in that the bullpen had a miserable first half, as we know, mostly from Familia, Diaz, and a few others. And then the Mets could have probably been vying for a division this week instead of still fighting to be in that wild card hunt. And look, they're going to be in this till the end.
No, I believe they're definitely going to be in to the end. And, I know Met fans out there, every time the team loses, it's the end of the world. You saw that when they lost in Pittsburgh a week ago, and now they lost on Sunday. But really, it isn't the end of the world. They're in. So all they have to do is win the series. They won 2 out of 3 against Washington. They did what they had to do. They win 2 out of 3 here in Atlanta. They did what they have to do. They're going to lose games. They're not going to be, losing 1 or 2 games the rest of the year. It's just not going to happen. It's just not the way baseball works. So they need to, just take care of business. Tonight you have Wheeler, who's been red hot since the All-Star break, and even hotter after they didn't trade him at the deadline in his 2 starts after the deadline. If he can continue along and the Mets get a win tonight, it makes it easier than they win one of the next 2 games, Mets or Marcus Stroman going, and then they go into Kansas City, and if they win 2 out of 3 there, again, it's winning series. You just got to continue to win series for the rest of the year, and the wins will the standings will take care of itself.
Exactly, Joe. Just keep winning series, and get a little help in between. Again, the Nationals are the team now that they're chasing more so in the wild card, and they have the favorable schedule from here on in. Well, the Mets have the more difficult one. So it's definitely going to be a test, and winning series has to be the thing. They can't go into Atlanta these next 3 games to get swept or lose 2 out of 3. You hope they take 2 out of 3, but even if they only win 1 out of the 3, I'd say they're still in good shape, pending also on the outcome of what happens with the other teams in the division and in the wild card hunt. But I expect this team, because the way the pitching is set up and the way the pitching has been thriving, and it has been with the best ERA in baseball since the All-Star break, I expect this team to be in it to the end, and I expect them to be a different the Braves are going to see a different Mets team, let me put it that way. Different Mets team. And the key also is Michael Conforto in that middle of that lineup can't strike out 3 times like he did on Sunday. He has to stay consistent. And Alonso, hopefully can keep hitting the ball out of the yard. That lineup and the improvement of Ahmad Rosario, these guys all came together. And yeah, you mentioned a moment ago, Joe, about can't win every game. Impossible. Seems like the Yankees win every game because they're playing the teams that also where they can do that, and they have that type of team where, it doesn't matter who they put on the field, they're going to win. But they're going to get a couple more losses too between now and the end. But 2 out of 3 or a sweep would be great. Winning 1 game is not going to hurt them. We'll see how it transpires.
And what we saw, Rich, today is with Charlie Manuel getting put in as hitting coach of the Philadelphia Phillies. And that's an interesting situation because now the Phillies might be sending a shot across the bow against Gabe Kapler.
Yeah. You wonder why sometimes teams make changes. And sometimes you will see the result, sometimes you won't. In the case, again, I'll bring up the Mets. It's obvious that new pitching coach and Phil Regan was a direction they had to do. And they brought the right guy in. Now, with the Phillies, that might be the case as well. But you're as good as the players you have on that roster. And you look at the Yankees. They're as good as always with the players they have, and for some reason, Brian Cashman, whether it's luck or whether it's because the organization has the ability to do it with the proper people and the money to do it, they're always able to get the player. I always tell everyone, it's a joke in the press room with you guys, with me, is that it seems like Brian Cashman opens up a refrigerator and he's got a new player that does the job, So, you're as good as your players that you have, but with pitching it's different. It's a different type of philosophy, a different type of coach. It's a matter of more of mechanics more than hitting. And this guy, with the Mets, with Regan, the old man, and they call him an old man. He doesn't look like an 82-year-old man. He doesn't look like he's ready to retire. I'm more suited for retirement than him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because you're starting to hear rumbling that you're going to get Nimmo back, and you're going to get Larry, who hasn't played all year, back probably around September time. And that's going to make the Mets a complete team because then they can get rid of Aaron Altair. They can get rid of
they need depth.
Ramon Vergara.
Yeah.
And, you basically
Lowry, I don't think you're going to see. Lowry's become the Jacoby Ellsbury of the Mets. I don't think you're going to see him. We get no other updates more than what we know, and I think that's one of the bad signings we know. It's not think about it. We know that was a bad move. Nimmo, I could see. I see Nimmo coming back sometime in September, and I also could see when the rosters expand, like a Dilson Herrera, Ruben Tejada may be coming up because they've been having great season at Syracuse.
And maybe a guy like Rajai Davis. Or somebody
yeah,
like that.
Right. Rajai Davis I see coming soon because Altier is just not doing it. I mean, was he 4 for his last 53? I mean,
the problem is Roger Davis is hurt down there, so unless he gets healthy, we're not going to see him.
Yeah, but he's been back in the lineup at Syracuse. He's been back at. In fact, I saw Sunday he had a 2-hit game. So he's been back. He's back in there. They definitely need that depth. I mean, there's two things here with this Mets run: the bench and the depth that we know, and Altier is not going to be an answer for them there. I could see Lagares staying because Lagares has that great defensive play in the outfield. His bat may not be the best, but I could see him coming up for defensive purposes and maybe getting a hit off the bench that the Mets might need. And, of course, the bullpen was straightened out. But we need to see Jeurys Familia be consistent like he was on Sunday with the slider and the sinker, and he struck out the Nationals, struck out the side. That's got to be consistent. We have to be convinced that Jeurys Familia has it back, and then we can move him in, definitely the 8th-inning man, and then make Lugo the closer and experiment with Diaz till he gets it straight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the problem with Lugo is he still has that tear in his ligament in his elbow, which he's been pitching through the last few years. He probably needs Tommy John surgery, but the thing is, he's fine, but you can't use him on a day-to-day basis. If you use him, you lose him. So that's the problem.
No, he's not. Right, and that showed on Sunday. He wasn't available. Maybe he gave up the home run ball also, but more so the culprit, whether the Mets were going to win it or not, as I wrote in the column about Diaz yesterday, is that he let the game get away from them with that home run ball to Robles. I mean, you can't trust Edwin Diaz, and that's a dilemma. And what do? That's a thing that the Mets are looking at, and that's a thing they have to decide what role he's going to have from here on in, and is it a risk? Do you put him in? Do you let him straighten it out during these crucial games down the stretch, or do you keep him in the bullpen and insert him in situations that he's not needed, or do you demote him a little bit, a couple of weeks so the minor league season ends up down at Syracuse? It's a dilemma they have with him.
Right.
But Lugo, I see, could be the closer. Again, you can't use him every day.
That's the issue. So, you may have to go by closer by committee. And
right.
If Familia coming back and starts pitching well, he could easily become a closer.
That's his role. And I always said the reason, and look, it's a mental thing with these guys. When he got out of that closer role when he was last with the Mets, then he went to Oakland, became an 8th-inning guy, late inning guy. He's not used to that. Familia is a closer. That's what he wants, and it played with his mind. I really do believe that. Your mechanics, your whole strategy, mechanics are different, and it screws, in the mind of a guy like that, like Familia. But I really think that seeing the difference in his last couple of appearances on the mound, including on Sunday, that Phil Regan has helped him a lot and straightened out the mechanics, and that's the whole thing with him. And you're going to see, I think, him playing more of a role out of that bullpen. You might even see that tonight.
Right, and that's what's the issue that I think we're trying to see is that Phil Regan came in and isn't really – he does do the analytics from what I'm understanding. He does do all that stuff. And they have a pitching quality control guy now, too.
Yes, that too.
Specifically the analytics. But he comes in and sees the mechanics that have changed. And says, move your foot over an inch and start trying to do that. And you saw it with Syndergaard, you saw it with Wheeler, and you're seeing it with Familia, you're seeing it with these guys, that it's small little changes that are improving them.
They're always in the video room. They get to the ballpark early, and he's teaching them. And that's what they look at him, as a teacher as well as a coach. And he has the right approach to how to do it, where Dave Island wasn't. As much as Dave Island is a pitching guru, Mickey Callaway had a lot of trust in him and their friends. It wasn't working out, and the results are showing. I mean, when they hired an 82-year-old guy coming